I am here with Sultan. And Sultan, you created the Fiber Community Fund, which I've been seeing pop up all over my feed. And you seem to have a mission of helping people who can't access patterns and fiber to do that. And so I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that, but I'd like to also talk to you about a few other things like
Absolutely.
what is your first yarn related memory?
Well, I just started knitting 3 years ago.
Ah, okay.
So my first memory was 3 years ago of actually experiencing and handling yarn as just yarn and not as a fabric made out of yarn.
Okay.
Like, I don't come from a crafty family, so I was never really exposed to that. And so, yeah, my first experience was knitting a basket weave square.
When did you start designing? I mean, you've only been knitting 3 years. When did you
I
start designing?
I took a class in mid-June. I designed my first accessory in August.
Of this year. Okay.
No, of that year.
Of that year. Okay. You probably aren't a person who follows directions well.
No, I am not.
I hear you on that.
That's why I keep coming up with new things.
Yeah, I can't even follow a recipe. I think I'll change that. No, this will be better. Yeah. That's
That's
how I started designing too.
Yeah. That's one thing I love about knitting is that you can customize it and just make it for yourself. That's what mostly attracted me to knitting.
Not related, but you said you did your master's, that you came to North America to do your master's.
Yes.
What did you do your master's in?
I got my master's in business information technology.
Okay, cool. I was thinking perhaps math, because a lot of math people are really into knitting because knitting is all about the math.
I used to hate math until I started knitting.
I used to like math until I started knitting, and then I realized I couldn't count to two. I can do higher order math, but I cannot count to two for the life of me.
So I use a lot of stitch markers, so I don't have to count.
How do you decide on the names for your patterns?
I sometimes the name comes before the design. I have a list of like, oh, that would be a cool name for a design. And sometimes I see a stitch that I really like, with like the Sago Cicad hat that I made. And we were in a garden that had a big fern. And I looked at it, and originally the hat was just gonna have the stitch just going like straight up. And I was looking at the leaves, and like that just inspired me to change up the pattern stitch and rename it.
Great.
Well, it did not have a name. It was just called hat number
The hat.
5 or something. Or the hat.
Describe your workplace where you do your designing.
So it can be anywhere, actually. Like, my last hat I designed, worked on it on a plane, in a car, in a garden. Because we were traveling, so I was kind of working on it and frogging back and knitting back again. I always have a knitting bag with me. And my notebook.
Where is your favorite place to knit?
Favorite place to knit is right here. It's sitting in, I have a small room in our apartment where it's all yarn and craft and yarn and design related books.
Oh,
So I usually just sit here and
perfect.
knit.
Who are your biggest influences in the knitting world?
Oh, Stacy from Very Pink Knits is a very big influence. I learned how to knit in the round from her. And her videos are always amazing, and just, yeah, I look up to her. Patty Lyon is another person who is very creative, and kind of puts out a design very clearly and very easily to follow. Like it makes even beginners like it takes away the intimidation they feel of like making a sweater from her designs.
Now, is the sweater you're wearing one of your designs?
No, this was a test knit that I did for Dani Knits, and this was her first pattern that she ever wrote, and she she wrote a sweater, and she's currently testing her second one. I'm not testing it, but it's a beautiful one.
So tell me about your worst knitting disaster.
Oh, there's so many. I love to experiment. So I would say my first hat was my worst. My first knitting project because that hat was so big and so long that I should not have bought that pattern. It gave you by the number of rows and rounds. So I just followed that and not tried it. And the hat now covers my whole face, my
Did you,
whole head.
you didn't check gauge?
I did not.
I'm shocked.
And
I'm shocked.
it was early enough that I did not even think about it. Like it was like, oh, there's a pattern. I don't know what gauge is.
I
I'll just
must
skip
not
that
be
part.
learning.
I'll just skip that part.
Well, it's a good way of learning what gauge is.
It was.
Okay, tell us about your greatest knitting achievement.
Hmm. It's always like what I'm currently working on, or the next one, or the last one. I love them all, and I love most of my designs equally, but in different
Good
ways.
father. Like
Yeah.
a father.
They're all my babies, even the ones that are not published or never will be published.
So tell us the story of how you started Fiber Community Fund.
I started the fund in late October, like not even so far ago, and I started it with only my patterns
Mhm.
because I've seen Aroha Knits, I've seen Jessie May, and Tina Saynit, and they all have that kind of scholarship where people can apply and they get their patterns for free. So I was like, why not? I mean, I want to help back, and ever since the whole conversation about BIPOC people and the whole change that needs to happen in the industry started, I've been trying to figure out a way of how do I fit in this and how do I give back to a community that gave me so much.
Mhm.
And I've met a lot of amazing friends and people, and so I thought might as well start doing that and give away my patterns. And woke up the next day with two messages from two different designers asking me if the fund was for only my design. So I was like, oh, you want to give away patterns too? I can organize that
I
if
can do
you
that.
want to give me your patterns. And that's how it started. I honestly have not asked any designer or yarn dyer for anything, and people just showed up and started giving.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
my next question was going to be, how did you envision it when you started? But you just explained that, and you didn't really envision it. You just were doing it for yourself, and it sort of spread like wildfire. You
Yeah,
must be so thrilled with the response from the community.
I was. It was very heartwarming. And yeah, I did not expect as many people to be like, here, take everything. And like people started with the yarn, even because I was just focusing on patterns. And I kept getting messages. It's like, what about yarn? Are you giving yarn? I have yarn to give you. And I was like, okay, I guess I can organize that too.
I have nothing better to do. So is this taking over your life?
It is, but I love it. But yeah, it's now I'm organizing all the yarn for the requests. I dyed 2 skeins of worsted and black for someone who requested black worsted yarn because we didn't have any in the fund. So I was like, okay, I have 2 bare natural skeins that I can dye, so I can do it.
So you're like the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. You're doing it all.
Basically.
So how would you like to see, or where do you see the fund 3 years from now?
I hopefully see it as a part of the community that elevates it and just bridges that gap between the social economic statuses in the community, where you see a really big gap where like people are either like going for the really high end yarns or the really like craft store, whatever I can afford yarn. And yeah, hopefully trying to bridge that gap and kind of balance it a little bit at least, where we could give someone a chance to work with natural wool or something with cashmere. And I've got most of the people who asked for things are people who are knitting for holidays, for gifts. Like I've got most of them are like, I want to make this for my mom, or I want to make this for my husband, or I want to do this for a really supportive friend who's been there for me this whole year. So I get the background stories, which are very beautiful and sometimes very sad, but
Wow.
there's that. And hopefully I started talking to a few tech editors who also wants to help out and give their services out. And I was thinking of having that as a pilot program to support BIPOC, LGBTQ plus designers who can't afford to have a tech editor, like edit their patterns and someone to check their patterns other than like friends or their group of fiber friends.
Mm. Oh, that's a great idea.
Thank you.
So, do you see in a few years you needing help with this? Because
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
getting a little bit, wow, it exploded and now it's
Absolutely.
exploding.
It's like this is in a few weeks. Like I'm expecting to plateau a little bit, but every week I'm getting 3, 4 designers who are contacting me, or yarn dyers who are like, I want to give. And yeah, it's been amazing. Like I even get people who are offering to help with like organizing and things, and but I was like, let me figure out the whole program and then I can set people and give you whatever you will. I can
It's
have
hard
you
to
help me.
delegate when you don't know what you're doing yet.
It is. And that's why I've been trying so hard to like have everything set up, and like I did not want to give yarn without having a plan.
Mhm.
So I've set up the plan where I was like, okay, they could put a request. What is the information that I would need in that request? And what would I need from people who are donating yarn, and what exactly the guidelines should be, which were really broad for the yarn donations, but I never know what people will ask for. So
So are you accepting yarn donations from just dyers and yarn producers, or also from people who have extras in their stash? Not that I know anyone who has a large,
who? What?
not a single person. I work on one project and I only buy yarn for that one. Yeah, okay, I can't even finish that sentence.
No, anyone can donate. I'm working on getting a PO box, but they're not they're not as cost effective right now. But I'm giving people my own address right now, so I mean, if they want to help, they're not going to be horrible and send me bad things.
I
Hopefully,
would hope not. One would hope not.
don't
So
send me
you
anthrax.
So you are handling everything. You don't just say, okay, can you mail it off to whomever?
Yes, I've been handling things state-wise. Internationally, I'm thinking of doing people just sending it directly to other people in Europe or Canada, because even Canada was, saw the prices of
Our
shipping and
shipping is insane. You know, it's cheaper for me to ship to you in the States than it is to my literally next door neighbor.
wow,
Like right now, I could hand her the yarn, but it's cheaper to ship it to you than it is to her. So yeah,
wow,
it's crazy. But you
yeah,
know, we are bigger than you geographically, and then we have
hmm
1/10 the people. So
yeah,
it kind of makes sense,
yeah.
but it's still insane. And I'm kind of mad at Canada Post from my last design, but we won't.
Oh no.
Well, it actually gave the name to this shawl. It's called Going Postal because I
Oh,
just about went postal with my interactions with Canada Post. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Okay. So is this easier or more difficult to do this than you envisioned once you realized that you were not in this alone, that this wasn't just you, that people were going to start inundating with you with donations?
it's getting easier now. The picture is getting clearer on like what I want it to be,
Hmm.
and how to get there is getting very clear, and it's getting easier, and I'm writing down like all the guidelines, all the programs, and like how everything goes into a spreadsheet, each designer with the number and like color coded. I have everything organized.
And right now, um, do you have, are your requests for donations as, are they keeping up with the requests to donate?
They are like the patterns are, I have over 500, maybe 600 now patterns in the fund.
Hmm.
And I've been talking to a lot of people, and like a few people requested Yara patterns, and I was like talking to them and chatting. I was like, so what stops you from making this? What stops you from making that? And I've been getting a lot of responses where it's like, yarn, I can't afford nice yarn to make this. And like I've made this pattern or this sweater in acrylic yarn, but some of them feel ashamed to even post it online, which just is heartbreaking because you put all that love and energy in making something that you feel ashamed of posting about, because you feel like you're not being up to par with everyone else who made that sweater. And
Hmm.
that's like one of the main goals of the Fiber Community Fund, is to gap that bridge, is to take that shame out. And it's like, it's okay to use acrylic, it's okay to use cotton, it's okay. You don't have to have hand dyed yarn to make something beautiful for yourself or to show it off and
Hmm.
enjoy it.
Yeah,
You could do it with whatever you can. And if you don't have the funds, hopefully the Fiber Fund will help you.
that's awesome. That is awesome. Um, so, are the numbers that you're seeing for both donors and recipients, I guess, are they surprising you? Obviously, the donors are surprising you. We've
They,
already talked about that.
they are like I said, a lot of people are like, take a step back before asking for help. Like I've had a person like message me a few times over like a week before they even felt comfortable to put a request, which I kept like talking to them. And like I honestly, I would love to know how to take that shame away and like just, yeah, abolish that shame and just have people ask for help. It's okay to ask for help
Yeah.
when you need it. It goes beyond like just cultural thing. It's like a human thing.
What does the application process look like from both sides?
I'll start with the applicant side, and that kind of explains how it goes on my side. So I had made a Google form where people just write in what they want for patterns. It's like I ask them to give me their either Instagram name or Ravelry name and the pattern they request. And if it's the fund, I'll give them either a code or give the designer the Ravelry username so they can gift it themselves.
Hmm.
And at times, some people request patterns that are not in the fund, which I would also buy them the patterns from the fund. On suggestions from a few of my friends is to create a coffee account where people can donate and some can make a monthly donation set up. So I did that and I've got a few monthly donations, thankfully, even though I haven't been a month yet.
Wow,
But some people decided to give monthly, and yeah,
that's awesome.
so we've been buying patterns, been using the funds to send out the yarns, and I started with giveaways as well. And that's from the recipients side. As for patterns for yarn, it's I have a list of 5 questions. I asked them their Ravelry name, what kind of yarn they want, what kind of fiber they prefer. I don't think I have allergies, which I should add. And if
Cool.
they prefer to get a pattern from the fund with the yarn, that also works out. But yeah, that's from their side. From my side, I accept all requests because I feel like if someone is brave enough to like say I need help, I will not ask. I will not be like, why? Tell me why you deserve yarn. Like I'm not the judge of that. If you think you need yarn, if you think you need the funds to buy something, I will try to help you and try my best to help you.
Okay, well, thank you very much,
Thank
Sultan. I
you.
really appreciate you taking the time for this interview.
It was my pleasure.
And thank you. And I suspect I'm going to be seeing a whole lot more of you in the fiber world in the
I
while.
will hope so for the good of the fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you.